Hello, boys and girls. Lord Hawkeye here again, and welcome back to DM Chat. Today, Shizotak, I probably butchered that name horribly, and I apologize, asks, he's got a problem with players who always want to just go off on their own all the time. No infighting, but they always just want to do their own thing. What can I do to help? Well, now, inherently, this is not a bad thing. I mean, even in my sessions, I have downtime sessions where the players are between adventures and they can go and do their own thing in the cities, whether it's making magic items, earning some money, or building a really awesome golem. But I think what he's probably talking about is people who constantly break off from the group, particularly in dangerous situations. So I'm going to do a little series until I get more questions on the various kinds of problem players and what you can do about them. So today's problem player, the Cowboy. The guy who always breaks off from the group and gets himself into trouble. Now, there's some signs for this you can look for right off the bat before the campaign even starts. There's a lot of players, I don't know why, but they have this obsessive need to make a character who is completely opposed to the idea of being in a party. And to them, you just got to give them the old, look, do you want to play D&D or not? Because people, D&D is a game about being in an adventuring party. That is an inevitability in this game. There's no getting around it. It's like signing up for soccer, but you don't want to actually kick anything. Well, sorry, that's kind of part of the game. You can't get out of it. If you don't want to play, well, there you go. I don't know why people do this. I think it's like their idea of rebelling, but it's completely pointless. So, yeah, you just got to give them the old, do you want to play D&D or not in those cases. But there's people who do want to play, but they have this bad habit of always breaking off from the group. So what do you do about that? Well, if him doing that is annoying your players, as I'm pretty sure it probably is, then they're probably going to get pretty annoyed with that too, and they can help you out with this. They can say to them, "Look, if you get in trouble, I'm not running to save you." So that might wake him up that he's taking a big risk that he probably shouldn't do. Well, if he doesn't take the hint, well, let the dice fall where they will. Maybe he'll get lucky, maybe he won't. But the big problem that happens is a lot of players will try to save him, even when it's his own stupidity and it's suicidal to try and save him, and then everyone gets into trouble. Bad scene. Well, you might want to take a hands-off approach to that and just let them suffer the consequences of it. But if they still don't seem to learn, well, there's ways to drop hints, like when someone says, "I'm going to split off from the group and go check this out." You can say to them, "Yeah, that works really well in the horror movies. Remember that?" Because that's a funny thing. Like you always see in horror movies when they say let's split up, and you're like, "No, don't do that. What are you, insane? That's just asking for it." And yet, when people play role-playing games like this, everyone thinks they're the guy who's going to get away with that, and they aren't. Don't split off from the group. Just don't. Now, the rogue is the one who's always got a problem here because the way his class works often necessitates that he break off from the group. So, in those cases, rogue, have a plan in case something goes wrong. There's always the chance that you roll a 1 on that stealth check and get into trouble. So, what's your fallback plan if that happens? What's your plan to get away? In short, if you gotta break away from the group, have a plan to get back into the group as quickly as possible if something happens, because you know it will. And if your players are still having trouble with the whole teamwork thing and nearly dying to fights that should have been easy, isn't giving them enough of a hint, well, you might want to try incorporating a few kind of team building exercises in. No, none of that Walmart stuff. Don't worry. Well, like incorporate some kind of puzzle or some kind of challenge they have to do, and they have to do it together. It cannot be done alone. Just get them working together. Get them more used to it, and I think that might help get some more team coercion together. So the Cowboy's a tricky one because a lot of the time you kind of have to take a hands-off approach and just let him suffer the natural consequences of it. Here he might get away and get cocky, but eventually his luck will catch up with him. So generally, I'd say take a hands-off approach to it. If it still becomes problematic, then I would suggest team building exercise, or maybe dropping subtle hints that he's kind of being the guy in the horror movie who breaks off in the group and is just asking for Jason to take his head off. That's the suggestions I got, and well, I hope they help. And if you have a question about some role playing you'd like to ask it down below in the comments or on my DeviantArt page, and you could be the next one. So I'll do some more problem players, and yeah, if you have any suggestions of different kinds of problem players, please suggest those too. I'd be glad to hear them. Anyways, until next time, be aware and be wise.